Another great type tool allows you to create text on a path. If you want to follow along, open Path Text Start AI, which you can find in the typography folder. Here I have a piece of circular artwork. What I'm going to do first of all is select the ellipse tool, which you can select by hitting the L key. And I'm going to use my smart guides to align it with the center of this circle. And as I click and drag, if I hold down Alt, it will allow me to scale from the center. And if I hold down Shift, it will constrain it. And I want you to draw it round about there. Now, at the moment, it's creating a black fill and a clear stroke. But if we hold down Shift and hit X, it will reverse it so we have a black stroke. Now, normally I don't really want a stroke on my text when I'm creating path text, but we'll leave the stroke on for now so we can see it. And then we'll select Type on a Path tool, which you can find underneath the main Type tool in here. So choose Type on a Path tool, and then all you need to do is just click on the path, and it places an insertion point, and we can start to type. So I'm going to type in the day the teddy bears had their picnic. Okay, a line from a song. The rest of the text is French, but we're going to ignore that. That's because the artist that created this, Jerome Borel, is French. And I have to thank him for providing us with some nice artwork. Sometimes you get bored of using your own artwork. So thank you, Jerome. So I'm going to double click the text. And if I triple click it, notice if I double click it, selects one word. If I triple click it, it will select the entire selection. And now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to choose a font. So we're going to choose Trebuchet MS. I never know if I pronounce that correctly, but we'll choose it anyway. And then we're going to increase the size so that it moves around the path. Round about halfway would do it. So probably about 40, 45, 46 points should be enough. So once we've done that, if we click to remove the selection, and if we go back to the selection tool, we can see the circle and the text moving around it. Now you'll notice there's a couple of points on the circle. And as I hover over them, I get this little indicator popping up. I have points here, which are quite hard to drag because they're in front of the bounding box. So if you go to View, Hide Bounding Box, it's a bit easier to grab them. You'll notice, first of all, that it's got rid of the stroke. So the stroke has disappeared from the path. And we get these little indicators appearing on our path. We get these two white ones with lines coming out of them, and then this one here, which is just a line, and as I hover over them, the indicator changes. And they should be familiar to you if you've had a look at AreaType at all. These are the in and out ports, and they're there because Illustrator treats type on a path the same way as it treats AreaType. So the two vertical lines are the boundary, if you like, or start and end points of the text. And the line here, so these are the start and end points, and this is the midpoint of the text. And as I move the midpoint, it moves the start and end point simultaneously. Now you'll notice if I drag the midpoint inside, it's going to have the text wrapping on the inside of the path. And if I drag it outside, it wraps the text on the outside of the path. So basically, I'm going to move that center point until I have the text where I want it, and I can use my smart guides as a help there. Now you'll notice there's a bit of space at the end of the sentence. I could always delete any spaces if I need to. Now you have to go between the Type tool and the Selection tool in order to edit this. So I'm going to go back to the Selection tool, and then we'll talk a little bit about the start and end point. If I move the end point to here and move the start point, whoops, you have to be careful not to select the wrong point. That's why you need to wait until you see these little indicators. So I'll move the start point down here. You'll notice that the text stays aligned to the start point. If we go to right align our text, it will align to the end point, and you can use these to move the start and end point and determine where the text wraps. Now I can still use my midpoint, but as I drag the midpoint, the start and end point move with it. Now this becomes useful when you start doing things like justifying the text. Okay, if I justify by center, it will justify around the center between those 2 points. And if I adjust the in and out point, it will adjust the text automatically. But when it becomes really interesting, and the point I'm trying to make, excuse the pun, is that if you fully justify the text, it will force it between these 2 points. So you can actually use these to adjust the spacing between words. So just by clicking and dragging along the path. Let me just move him for a second, he's getting in my way. I could lock the layer, but frankly, I can't be bothered. So I'm just going to move him. Sometimes it's easier just to move something. Actually, that's made a really nice design. Okay, you'll notice I have text wrap switched on, and I quite like what's happened there. So I might leave it like that. Okay, so as you can see, these control points allow you to move the text between these in and out points, and justifying the text works really well here because you can then determine the space between words. So that's a little tour of text on a path. It doesn't have to be a circle. You can create any shaped path you like. So I could create a curve here, select that path, just select my type tool, click on it, and start to type and fill it with text. So really great tool to create text on a path.